In this video, we're focusing on isolation tips and tricks. So I'm not diving into anything fancy today, meaning I'm not going to be isolating the layers with tape or iPads or anything like that. We do have other videos that focus on those type of isolation techniques. But today I'm working with my good old-fashioned lash tools. So I have in my hands my Sunset Isolation Tweezer. It's our Ultra line, of course, by Lost Artistry Lash. You can find it on lostartistrylashing.com. And I do have my Sweet Spot tweezer as well today. This is my volume tweezer for today, and it does help me with isolation as well. So my tip number one for isolation is to have your clients tilt their chin back towards you. When your client keeps their chin tilted back, you can see where the natural lash grows from the skin. And if you can see that, then you can see if there's any little invisible lashes falling into your section. Sometimes they can be so light that they're almost, like I said, invisible. But with proper lighting and by tilting your client's chin back and having your bed and lash chair situated as well, and of course your body too, you may have to turn your head from side to side or lift your head over your client. If you feel uncomfortable lifting your head over your client, then wearing a mask is a great idea. I wear a mask every time that I lash, except for when I'm talking on film because it gets muffled. But I wear a mask no matter what, even outside of course, the global situation, just so I feel comfortable getting super close to my client while I'm lashing without breathing on their head. So as I've said, lighting is really important as well. We're using our Lost Artistry Lash LED lights. It's nice because you can actually pull both of the arms around your client so that you have lighting on the top side or wherever you need that lighting, you can move it. And you don't have to have both of the arms in the same place. You can move one on the right side of your client's head, one on the left side, underneath, whatever works for you, so you can play around with that lighting. When it comes to tools, they are so important. So let's say in your training you learn to isolate with a straight isolation tweezer. Maybe that's your forever tweezer, or maybe you're like me and you would quickly recognize that it wasn't the tweezer for you if you try different ones. So I would say, with all honesty, that I have tried, I don't know, hundreds of different isolation tweezers, and I found that I actually have a different isolation tweezer for different types of lashes. So I can get away with using a straight isolation tweezer. It's not my preference for any service, but I can get away with that if I have a client whose lashes almost isolate themselves. They're thick, they're straight, and they're already very isolated, then it's easy peasy. But if I have a client who has deep set eyes, I'm gonna need a hooked isolation tweezer or a tweezer with a lot of curvature in order to get over a really high brow bone. That's not the case today. Today I am working with our Sunset Ultra, and this is my generic tweezer. It has a fine tip. If you need one tweezer only and not any other isolation tweezers, this is the go. It has a nice curvature so you can get over any brow bone even if it is protruding, and it has a fine tip, and fine tips are so important, especially if your client has curly or unruly natural lashes, so you can easily get in between and maneuver around those unruly lashes. It's also good if you get stickies. You need a fine point so that you can fit the tip in around your sticky and release. My next point on isolation is, if you take a look at how I'm holding my hands, this helps me so much. You'll notice that my wrist is stationary. It's rested on my client's head. My finger is rested, and the side of my hand is rested as well. The more stability I have, the more control I have over the placement of my extensions. So that is super, super important. A lot of times I'll hear, well, I'm maybe not comfortable placing my hands on my client's head, and that is absolutely valid. I totally get that. If you feel super uncomfortable, or say you're someone who has sweaty palms or something, I was like that when I was pregnant actually. I was super sweaty and it was really yucky. So what I did was just take a face cloth and put it across my client's forehead, and then I didn't have to feel bad about it. My next tip for isolation is to utilize both of your tweezers. So a lot of the time I'll use two tweezers, much like this, or however is needed. Sometimes I'll turn my tweezer upside down. kind of swipe through the lashes that way. So I'm utilizing both of my tools for many different purposes. I also will use my finger sometimes, or my nail. Don't worry, they're really clean. I always wash my hands, scrub under my nails, especially if you have nails like mine that are quite long. You want to really get in underneath that nail with a scrub brush. Make sure that they're not dirty before you touch your client. And then I also sanitize right before and during my services anytime that I move away from my station or even touch another product or anything. I sanitize and then come back to work. Sanitation of the hands is so, so, so important. Sometimes I'll use my finger to show the bottom layers just to see, are there any lashes that I maybe can't see, or maybe I'll use my finger to pull the actual lid itself back a little bit. Expose some lashes. It really helps separate the lashes so you can easily find what you're looking for. Find those lashes that aren't yet in use. There's a lot of different ways that you can hold your tweezers as well. I'm not going to go into that today. That is in our courses. If you're interested in checking out our course, by all means, I'll go ahead, and if you're on YouTube right now, I will put the link to our training below. And we also have broken up our course into mini courses, so they're much more digestible. Our volume mastery course is insanely large, and if you want to sample it, it is all online. We've broken it up into smaller segments that we call mini courses. So you can go ahead, sample our trainings, and then if you love them, then later, the price that you have paid for your mini course, we are happy to take that off of your volume mastery if that's the route that you would like to take. And those are really inexpensive. Another really important thing to note is, so I'm almost done this set right now, but what I have done is I went through the set first, moving eye to eye and evenly placing my extensions across the eye so that they would always look complete no matter what. That's again in our course if you want more information on that. But I went through to find all of the really strong, really easy to isolate lashes first, and that offered much easier isolation later. So by sectioning out all those bigger, thicker, easier lashes, those are much easier to move out of the way once they're lashed, of course, with a longer, thicker lash, to reveal those finer, more troublesome lashes later. So just to recap, going through, finding those really strong, awesome lashes, and then once you feel like, okay, I'm through that, then it kind of flows and you find those tougher lashes and they become easier. My last tip for isolation today is never to put pressure on your eye pads, because what ends up happening is the pads pop up and will move other lashes into your section and it'll just make your life so much harder if you push pressure on the pad, and it could hurt the client as well. So instead, we're just hovering, and your stability again is coming from your hand placement, so you shouldn't have to put pressure on those eye pads. I would love to hear if you have any super awesome tips and tricks for isolating, because there is an unlimited amount of techniques for this. So if you have something special, maybe you created it or maybe you've seen it online, share it with us in the comments. I would absolutely love to hear about it and give it a shot as well. And if you are someone who is feeling like, you know what, I think I would like to try a new tweezer, you will find your perfect one. I'll start by saying that. But if you want to try this Sunset Ultra Lost Artistry tweezer, I'm going to put a code below, and you can get 40% off of this tweezer. So I'll put the code below. It will be for one-time use only. And if you want to go down to the description, I'll put it in there and a link to get to this tweezer, but it's going to be Sunset 40 will be the code. And you can just go on to lostartistrylash.com and use that at checkout. Thanks so much for watching our video today. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so we can always bring fresh new content your way.